Hey guys, thank you for stopping by and welcome back to the channel. So the last 1 year or so has been very chaotic for Canada international students, especially with one announcement after another targeted at international students. First of all, there was an increase in the proof of living funds. Then there was a cap on the number of international students that can study in Canada. Then there was a change in the spousal open work permit, and on and on. The last couple of weeks, the Minister of Immigration announced yet another set of changes to international students in Canada as well as temporary residents. Now, those changes affected post-graduation work permit eligibility. Previously, no matter what level of studies you came to do in Canada or what program you came to study, you were eligible for a PGWP as long as you went to a PGWP eligible school, you applied on time, and you completed a program that was at least 8 months. This was great for a lot of international students because it was almost a given that you would get the PGWP after studying in Canada. The PGWP gave students time to get jobs and get the work experience that will qualify them for permanent residence in Canada. Great, everything was going great until a couple of weeks ago when the minister announced that there will be some changes to the PGWP. So there were language requirement changes. There was also field of study changes. And the minister insinuated in that announcement that not everybody would be able to get PGWP anymore. Thankfully, IRCC has now clarified the field of study requirements for those who are to get PGWP. So all in all, they are trying to say that not all programs of study will get PGWP anymore. It's a very devastating announcement, very devastating policy change, because lots of people just even started studying in Canada just this September, and they might be studying in fields that are not qualified for PGWP anymore. Anyway, enough of me talking. Let me show you some of the changes that affect you if you're an international student in Canada or if you're coming to study in Canada. The changes have been divided to before November 1st of 2024 and after November 1st of 2024. I'm going to leave the link to this page in the description so you can go ahead and see the details. So on this page, we're looking at what hasn't changed. We're looking at the new eligibility requirements in terms of language requirements and field of study requirements. So in terms of what hasn't changed, the general and physical location eligibility requirements don't change even after November 1st. Yeah, you need to complete a study program at a PGWP eligible DLI. You need to apply like 180 days at most after you study. You need to have completed a program that is at least 8 months in length, that's 8 months duration. And then some of the other requirements are that the length of your program, like I said before, it has to be in a DLI and it has to be within that 180 days of finishing your program. Now, regarding the new eligibility requirements, if you submitted your study permit application before November 1st, there are some requirements and it's different from those who submitted study permit after November 1st. So if you submitted your study permit application before November 1st and you're applying for a PGWP after November 1st of 2024, you must also meet the new requirements that applies to your situation. So this is for all those who submitted their study permit application before November 1st, or you're applying for a PGWP on or after November 1st. So this would apply to people who probably are already in Canada and are going to be applying for their PGWP after November 1st. So if you're still studying and you haven't finished studying, but you definitely apply for study permit before November 1st, this would apply to you. So first of all, if you graduated with a bachelor's degree, master's degree, or doctoral degree from a university, there are now language requirements. The minister also mentioned this in the last announcement. So you must prove your language abilities. You must score at least a CLB 7 and an LCLC 7 in French in all the 4 language areas. If you graduated in any other university program that is not a bachelor's, a master's, or a doctoral degree, you must prove your English or French language skills with a CLB 7 in English or NCLC 7 in French in all 4 languages. If you graduated from a college program, however, or any other programs that is not a bachelor's, a master's, or university program, or a PhD, so if you did what, a diploma, advanced diploma, postgraduate certificate, you must prove your English or French language skills to the minimum level of CLB 5 and LCLC 5 in French language in all the 4 areas. Now, previously, there was no requirement for English language. If you wanted to apply for a PGWP, you were not required to have that English language. To have done IELTS or CELP for the French exam, you were not even required to have had a job. Yeah, so you just finish, you graduate, and you apply. But now you have to do the English language test. So it is advisable that you do it while you're studying. So in the last, couple of months before you finish studying, I would advise that you start studying for your language test. Now, talking about those who graduated from college, even though the requirement is a CLB 5, I would advise you to go beyond this, because for you to create a profile in the Express Entry, you need a CLB 7. Yeah, so this is just for PGWP, but if you wanted to also use this for Express Entry, please try and score at least a CLB 7 or above, so that you can also use it for permanent residence application. However, the English language test only lasts for 2 years. So it has a 2-year shelf life. So you need to also put that in mind. Yeah. So if you had a 3-year PGWP and you feel that, okay, you know what, I will not be able to apply for PR before then I guess you can score a CLB 5 if you went to college, but try and score much more than that. Now, if you submitted your study permit application on or after November 1st, you also meet the new requirements that apply to your situation to be eligible for a PGWP. So the same thing, that if you submit your study permit, so if you're submitting a study permit after November 1st, you must also meet new requirements, okay, for you to be eligible for a PGWP. If you graduated from a university's bachelor's degree, master's, same as above, you still need to meet those language requirements. But this time around, you also meet a field of study requirement. All fields of study are eligible. There is no additional field of study requirements. Yeah, so I need to stress that there's no field of study requirement. All fields of study are eligible. There's no additional field of study requirement if you submit your study permit application on November 1st or after November 1st. You must also meet the new requirements that apply to your situation. If you graduated from any other university program, same as above, you must graduate in an eligible field of study. So all those who are going to be submitting a study permit application after November 1st, if you're coming to study a bachelor's, master's, or a PhD, you still need to meet all the requirements we talked about, but you don't need to meet the field of study requirements, okay? If you are graduating from any other university program, you must also prove your English language, but this time around, you're going to meet a field of study requirement. So you must graduate in an eligible field of study. If you are graduating from a college program or any other program that is not a bachelor's, master's, or a PhD, you must meet the CLB 5 of English, like we said before. You must also graduate in an eligible field of study. So invariably, if you've submitted your application, if you're in Canada already, yeah, then you are the previous things we talked about in terms of eligibility. These ones here are what apply to you. If you are submitting your study permit application on or after November 1st, then there are new requirements. So please, if you are trying to submit a study permit application and you know that you're not coming to study in any of these eligible fields of study, and you're not doing a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD, you need to try and submit your application before November 1st, or else you would need to have studied in one of these fields of study that we're going to be looking at. Now, when it comes to the CLB 7, of course, we all know the CLB, you need to, for English language, you need to score at least 6 in all of the, in all of the areas of language, as reading, writing, listening, and speaking, and your test results must be less than 2 years old when you submit your application. Now, in terms of English, you can do the English language test, which is CELP. You can do the IELTS. And for French, you can do the TEF Canada or the TCF Canada. Canada is also now taking the PTE core option. So there's this PTE exam, Pearson Test of English. As long as you do the PTE core option, Canada also accepts it. Now let's go to this field of study requirement. Field of study would affect those who are submitting study permit application after November 1st, and also those who did not who went to a college or are doing a program that's not a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD. Now, if your study program has a field of study requirement, you must graduate from a program linked to certain occupations in long-term shortage. So it seems like what Canada has done is to kind of categorize all fields of study into those in long-term shortage and those that are not in long-term shortage. And they are saying that, they've divided the long-term shortage into 5 broad categories. And just looking at this, just at a glance, these are the areas, the category-based draws, those new category-based draws that IRCC just started. These are all the programs: agriculture, healthcare, STEM programs, trades, and transport. So, if you are not able to submit your application before November 1st and you really want to come study in Canada, you might want to get another admission before you come to study. So let's take a look at some of these programs. There are lots of them. So I would urge you to go through. You can see there's up to page 97. So Canada has put different knock codes, different field of study. They've also put the title of the program, as well as the title of the job. So when it comes to agriculture, we have crop production, we have apiculture, animal training, and all of that. And it goes on and on. Let's look at for healthcare. Let's see if we can break it down and look at it one by one. Okay, so looking at different areas of study. So again, I've tried to go through the pages so that there's lots of it. So it's not like you're limited, but in terms of broad ranges, it's transportation, trades, STEM programs, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. There's healthcare, agriculture, and agri-food. Yeah, so I'm going to leave the link down. So I don't want you to be asking, can I do animal science? Can I do nursing? Just go through this, depending on whether you're under healthcare or whether you're education, teaching of individuals with autism, it falls under healthcare. And then I was trying to see whether education is here. See, counselor education, school counseling and guidance services is under healthcare. And this is one reason why I don't want you to just make a decision without going through this list. Somebody that is a counselor of education would think that, education is not there. But you can see, education is here. Special education and teaching is under healthcare. So please try and go through this. Human nutrition, genetics. There are lots of it here. And from what I can see, it seems like healthcare, as usual, healthcare has the most, because it's very broad. And of course, there's transport, marine transporter, lots of it. Let's not waste time going through this. The link will be in the comments. I'm sure many other people have posted these links. You can just take your time and go through. And when you are applying to study in Canada, please try and find a way. I know that you might not qualify for this, especially maybe if you're an art student or you did business, but you need to find a way to do some of these programs. Or you can come to Canada to study your business program, and then when you're done, you can, if your school has some of these other programs, and since you studied there, if they can give you another program, you can do a back-to-back with another program. So personally, I think that you can still come to study a business program or whatever if you can't qualify for any of this in these 5 categories, and then you can do a switch in your school. Remember that you need to do a switch within the same DLI, because if we're changing DLIs, you would have to apply for a new study permit. That's how Canada has made it. And previously, it wasn't like that. You could change your DLI, but I guess it is what it is. And also, there's this CIP code and title. Classification of Instructional Programs, CIP, is used to classify post-secondary education programs according to the field of study in Canada. So, Canada has given a lot of room for people to come to Canada to study and to be able to get permanent residence. I also came to Canada to study, and I have permanent residence. And it was like that, and that's why Canada was preferred, because people also had the opportunity of not just getting world-class education, which is great, they also had the opportunity to work in Canada after study, and as well as to become permanent residents. But since Canada is saying, you know what, there's a field of study requirement after November 1st for those who went to program or who went to colleges or who are doing college programs or non-bachelor, master's, or PhD. I guess you walk around it. That's just what I think. So the link will be below. Don't be discouraged. Just make sure you take your time to read this page and understand the requirements. So like I said before, there are two categories of eligibility: those who are applying for study permit after November 1st and those who are applying for study permit before November 1st. There's also a dichotomy between those who are doing a bachelor's degree, master's, or doctoral in a university, and those who are doing other programs that is not any of these three in a university, as well as those who are studying in a college program, so diploma, advanced diploma, or a graduate certificate. There's that dichotomy. So find where you fit in, find your eligibility requirements, and then take it from there. It is what it is. No matter how much we hate it, no matter how much we're angry, we can't change this. It is what it is, unless we have to just walk with it like that, okay? So guys, there you have it. I don't know what your sentiment is at this time. Some of you might be very discouraged. Some people are more encouraged to go on. But what I can say is there's always a way around this. For all those fields of studies that we have mentioned previously, if you can come and study in any of those fields, then please do that, yeah? If you can get work experience, or you can be able to convince a visa officer that you qualify to study for any of those programs, please go ahead and come study for those programs. I'm sure you also know that the dynamics will change in terms of number of study visas that will be approved, number of admissions that you can get at the school. All of those dynamics will change. But as time goes on, we will see how things pan out, okay? Like I always say, if life gives you lemons, try and make lemonade. I know that this is not like the best announcement, but please, please, please keep your head up. Trust in God, and there will definitely be a way for you. If this is the first time you're hearing these announcements, why don't you watch this video next, where I talked about previous announcement that was made by the minister before this last one. You will gain a lot from it. I'll see you in the next video.